topic, I wanted to discuss the idea of karma and just further discuss this idea of facing life's challenges, right? Because when you start questioning your faith, it's generally a time when you're facing some sort of life challenge.
Right.
And I think that's something that our generation really struggles with. So millennials have some of the highest rates of suicide in the world.
Right.
And millennials, the younger generation. So causes of this kind of stress and anxiety and depression includes pressures from college, exams, bullying, tensions of family, pressures for your career, stability, getting married. In order to help us better handle this stress, I think it's important to understand two things. One is, why are these challenges or negative things happening to me or my friend or my family member? And what are the tools and techniques we can utilize to help us to overcome these challenges? And to kind of give a little bit more context for the first question, why are these challenges happening to us? I wanted to discuss karma with you. And from my understanding, karma means an action or a deed, and it refers to kind of this spiritual principle of cause and effect, where these actions affect an individual's influence of their future. It almost reminds me of Newton's third law, where in every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, every action need not have an opposite reaction, but there are
there's a consequence.
There is a consequence. I mean, this is even common sense.
Right.
If you do something, it definitely has its consequences, good or bad.
Right.
Okay. Now, the thing is, the crux of the theory of karma is, as you sow, so you reap. This is the middle point. This is the crux of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So what happens? Just think about this. Even if you explain karma of somebody's life, let's say past births and so on, you cannot go back and tinker anything there. It's over. You have no control over what has happened, right? You can't go back there and tinker what happened. Okay. And if you want to do good things or be happy in the future, you can't go there and tinker. You don't know where the future is. Okay. So what do we have with us now? Present. So instead of getting caught up in how, why of these things, can we work on the present? Actually, that is the crux of the theory of karma. What you do now is what you're going to reap tomorrow. So, with all the limitations that we have, maybe based on our past karmas, if you believe in past lives, or it may be because even biologically we are the result of a million years of genetic evolution. So many things have come to us. Even if you leave the other theory out, we are not what we think we are. We are much more than that. We are a combination of so many influences, traits, experiences, because it's a 1 million years of evolution we are sitting here now. So we need to see in future if I need to go on the proper track. And in this life now as it is, I need to keep myself happy. One thing is I can ignore what happened because I don't know really what happened. I can't go back either tinker with my past life or tinker with my genes. I can't do that.
Sure.
But now I can handle it in such a way that the future is assured. Of course, given the limitations that all of us have a blueprint. Because we are born with a certain blueprint. Some people cannot do artistic things, some people cannot do mathematics. So there are some limitations, I agree. But there is also this fact that the brain that we have is a very complex instrument and which can be trained to learn things which it doesn't know. So start by looking at now and see how we can change ourselves. If you can change ourselves, then according to the theory of karma, your future is assured.
I think that's very true, but I think one thing that kids struggle with is the idea of present and now. I think we're a generation where like I had said before, we like instant gratification. We
Right.
Google the answers. We follow this workout
Correct.
routine. We you tell us to do certain asanas in the morning. We will do it. We will figure out a way to get that into our routine. But the problem is that with life's problems, let's say you're working hard. You've finished all the exams for school. You've done everything. Then something happens. Something bad happens that you don't have control over. And I think that's what is really kids really struggle with.
Wait a minute. Now, instead of trying to explain it away with the theory of karma and so on, get them to face why the problem has come and try to sort it out there, not put it on some other theory.
Okay.
Then what happens is it becomes a very defeatist thing because I don't think I can do anything. Perhaps in my past life, I've gone and peed in somebody's well, and now this guy has come and poured dirty water into my toilet. So you can't do that. Can we look at it as things are now,
right,
and see how we can remedy it. Don't try to find reasons. See, I'll tell you another story. This is from this life of the Buddha. Buddha says somebody went to a mango grove to eat mangoes, and while he was plucking the mangoes, somebody from outside or in the grove shot an arrow. The thing hit him. He's fallen down, he's in pain. Okay? He wants to get out of it, he's in pain. But the main thing in his mind is, who sent this arrow? I have to figure out where it came from. The Buddha said, by the time you figure out where it came from, man, you'll be dead. You'll be dead. You'll probably gangrene will set in and you will be dead. You won't ever find out who sent it. So what is the first step to do? Find out how to remove the arrow, how to get rid of this suffering which you're having at the moment, so that when you're free, and then you can think and try to find out where is the source of this arrow from. So what I'm trying to say is that instead of trying to blame anything that happens, like you said, I have finished my exam, but suddenly some problem comes, I don't know why, I can't face it. Tell them that this is the way life is. You never know what problems come at what time. The ones who win are those who know who deal with it. Not those who speculate on it, but those who know how to deal it. Now let me tell you, even in sadhana, which is the spiritual practice, you are suddenly faced with odds which you cannot explain. If you go on seeking for an explanation, you will not be able to tackle it. So practical techniques are given how to tackle this, so that when you have reached a state where your mind is tranquil and calm, no matter what the circumstances are, then you figure out that you can find out the cause.
Okay. So it's more so...
Hands on.
Okay. So it's more so that we are learning ways to tackle our problems, but we can't assume that just because we follow this, the problems will go away.
No.
Because that's important
Very
for people
important
to understand.
Very important to know, because there may be another way of looking at it.
Yes.
You see, there may be, when you say out of the box thinking and when you talk about fuzzy logic and so on, it's not as if you say this can be the only solution. You need to look around.
Right.
Fortunately, we have a brain which has evolved over a million years and has learned how to look at things sometimes in a different way, but we don't allow it to do that.
Okay.
We impose our borderlines and say, think only within this border. You don't open it up. In this context, it's very important that the teachers, who, not only spiritual teachers, even teachers in schools and colleges, especially schools, learn to infuse the spirit of inquiry in the students they have. I've seen this when we recruit teachers for the school, not only the school, for the boarding school. If they have a master in education or a bachelor, it takes 6 months to make them de-learn what they learned. You need the qualification, otherwise you can't employ them according to the rules of the secondary board. But those who have learned them are much more difficult for us to make them understand how to teach. Because they have these ideas they have come from with. So it takes 6 months to get them to forget it and start afresh. There is a beautiful small little book, I recommend that everybody reads it. It's by a man called Ivan Illich. It's called De-Learning.
What is it about?
It's about how we approach teaching somebody with a feeling that we know everything, this is the correct idea, and this is,
Okay.
you got to get that out.
Okay.
So that you also stimulate thought and make people think in different ways than from the usual box that is offered to us.
Okay.
And I think if you go back, since we are talking about ancient culture, if you go back into not so much the epics, but the Upanishads, for instance, you will find, especially among the principal Upanishads, which are 11 in number, perhaps they are the earliest. The thought process, they're trying to look at things in a completely different way than we would normally look. I'll give you an example. Talking about the supreme reality, which is all pervading, having said that, the Upanishad says about that, tad dure, tad vatantike, it's far and yet so near. Now in normal logical terms, something that is far cannot be near. It has to be either near or far. So what is it? Are they trying to confuse you that there's something which is far and yet so near? So you have food for thought, you see. You begin to wonder, what is this that? So it can't be a material object. A material object can be here or there. It can't be there and here at the same time. So perhaps they're not talking about something where you need to reach, but something which you would probably get when you stopped reaching anywhere. When I say reach, I mean grasping. So all I'm saying that there are even in tradition, there are wonderful methods given by which you can make people think originally, and I think original thought only can solve these problems.
Okay. So for somebody that is dealing with some sort of life challenge, they're struggling to figure out how to make some sort of change to deal with the here and now. Forget what I reaped in my past life. Forget all of that.
Exactly.
Let's focus on the now.
Good,
I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, more problems or less problems, but for now, I have some control over my situation.
Yes, at least some.
So, last question before we move on to the next topic. Is there something to thinking positively versus thinking negatively? Because that's something we all have control of regardless of our race or religion. We can do. Is that a good first step forward for somebody watching this, or do you have some other maybe basic guidelines for somebody watching this saying, how do I make that first step? What can I do?
Okay. Of course, the positive thinking is very important. What I mean by positive thinking is to say that this is not the end. That's what I mean. This is not the end. Those who think this is the end may probably lie there. They won't move. They're stuck there. So maybe I should find out, explore new avenues to move so that I can get out of this, what is it called, this impasse that has taken place. So can I move out of it? So I think positive is, the very word positive thinking means that I have not given up. I have not accepted defeat. I want to move forward. Now, it not only involves thought, but it also involves action. Simply by sitting and positively thinking that I have lost this job because others were smarter than me, so if I think positively, tomorrow I might get the job, that's only partly so. I should look at the reasons why I failed and practically work out how to remedy them so that tomorrow I can succeed in an interview. But where positive thinking works is when you go for the interview, you're not saying, oh, I'm weak, I'm negative. No. That can change.
Okay. And what about somebody who's dealing with situation that is completely out of their hands? Like, for example, family has cancer. There's, no matter how much you positively think, there's something...
You can do nothing about that, let's be frank.
Right.
You can do nothing about it. You can only say that, see, there's one way of looking at this. I'm not the only person in whose only family this is happening. At this moment, there are millions of people suffering. I'm not the only thing. It's when I think I am the only thing, then the suffering becomes big for me. When I see that this is what is happening to hundreds of people around, I may not be aware, but every minute somebody is having cancer and there are millions of people on this earth. You see that, then your mind expands a bit. You know, then you're also worried about the other person's cancer. When you're worried about the other person's cancer, the pain of your cancer becomes less. Not your cancer, I mean in your family. So then the mind is, so we feel that if the mind actually grows and expands and becomes, begins to sense the all-pervasiveness of it, the ultimate reality, even to some extent, then you may not be able to cure the cancer, but you may be able to lead a tranquil life in spite of it. And you might be able to help somebody else who is going through the same thing. This is possible. See, it's not that a yogi or a great saint can will not have cancer. That's not true. As long as you have a physical, you have many explanations for that. But it's not true. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was a great saint. He died of throat cancer. Well, they have invented explanations like, he took other people's cancer. I think there's nothing wrong in saying that he had cancer because it's a physical body, it can have anything. But his having cancer is not like me, somebody else having cancer. He went through it in his own way, calmly, quietly, tranquilly. And during the time he had cancer was a time when he actually could test people and figure out who would stay and who would not. And those 12 main disciples were the ones who stayed on. Many of them had left saying, he has cancer, so he's, he can't be a yogi or a saint. Ramana Maharshi died of cancer. So this is not a criteria. That's what I'm trying to say. How you handle it, that is the criteria. There are some things you cannot stop. You cannot stop earthquakes. No yogi can stop earthquakes. You cannot stop, if there are so many so-called new age yogis in California, why can't they stop the forest fires? It's not possible. Let's look at this in a realistic manner. But if they are real yogis whose minds have grown and expanded, they should try ways and means of how to save people from this. So I hope you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes, definitely. I think it all kind of revolves around expanding your mind.
Exactly. And not just thinking about your small little. It's not easy.
Yourself.
It's not easy, I agree. Yeah. If tomorrow my wife has cancer, I would of course be worried. I mean, there's no, but I would not be, I would say that, well, there are other people also who have this problem. It's not only me. So why am I just stuck with one thing? Can I move a little up? That does a lot of things to us, to the mind.
Okay. And I want to move on to the next topic. But before the interview ends, I think to help somebody to get into that mindset, I would like to ask you at the end of the interview some books and recommendations you have to help people get on that track.